Hello everyone, it's Raza von Werder from the University of Mother God Church talking about, I'm going to this night talk about sex, but I cannot talk about sex without explaining first why we have the attitude towards sex prevalent in our world, this attitude being produced by patriarchy. Therefore, before I say what patriarchy does, I have to explain what it is. Most people don't even know about matriarchy versus patriarchy, what the two things are. It's something that is not talked about. But we are moving into matriarchy, and the patriarchal system is falling apart. But I want to talk about the spirit of patriarchy and why we still have those lingering attitudes promulgated by the patriarchs through their religions. I have to explain who they are, how they came into being. And so in the last video I spoke about the myth of Satan in the Christian religion and how Satan, Lucifer, was thrown into hell. 1/3 of the angels went with him. And how I believe that this myth is not about angels in heaven, it's about the men on earth. When men turned against Mother God and women, they said, I will not serve. They were jealous. You know, Lucifer was jealous of God, the devotion, the adoration, the obedience which God had, the power, the influence, the beauty of God, the greatness of God. Men were jealous of the power, the beauty, the authority, the radiance of women, their ability to reproduce, their influence over the youth, their priesthood, their financial, not that women weren't like men are with money, they weren't like that. The queen lived similar to what her lowest subject lived. There were no caste systems. This is proven by archaeology. Maria Gimbutas, my countrywoman, did much of that work, major work in archaeology, of how goddess societies lived. Okay, now they're jealous. It's not Lucifer being jealous of God, it's men being jealous of women. Now they create, eventually, mind you, this takes thousands of years of their conspiracy and their evil spirit, bit by bit, eroding and changing and twisting the matriarchal religion into their matriarchal society and religion into their society and religion. All the religions that are on earth today, they came out of originally Mother God religions. There's a book, Barbara Walker's book, Myths and Historical, I can't remember, Myths, the Encyclopedia of Myths, M-Y-T-H-S. Take a look, Barbara Walker. Being jealous of women, they wanted to take away the power of women. And it took them thousands of years. Eventually it blossomed into the world as we've known it for the last several thousand years. It blossomed into that. Where in their religions they put in all their poisons. All their poisons are in the new religions that they stole from women and redirected them into patriarchy and hatred of women. Misogyny is hatred of women. And they took over not by intelligence, not by teachings, but by force, the force of arms, the force of war. They would take over communities, agricultural goddess communities. They would take them over and kill everybody. Even in the Old Testament, it says, God told us. God told us to kill all the people. See, now they got God into a murderer. They turned God into like they were. Their God is Satan. Satan told them. Satan told them to kill all the people in the communities. They worship Satan, but they call him a god. So they created the male god. They got the male priesthood. Women are excluded from ministry and priesthood. They have to have permission from men to preach even today. These fundamentalist, pathetic, pitiful fundamentalists who believe that woman has to have permission from a man to preach. So, and of course, in some very, very restrictive religions, they can't preach even with permission. Like Muslim religion, I don't know of any women preachers or, mullahs or anything. So the extremely repressive, backwards religions, the Orthodox religions, the ancient repressive religions, don't allow women any rights in religion. Okay, so it is their jealousy. He said, I will not serve. So these men, 1/3, I believe it's 1/3 of the human race, 2/3 are good, 1/3 are demonic. This demonic spirit enters into them. They become demonic. It's their own will. They become. It's not a different foreign spirit. It's them. They become demonic. They're probably the origin of demons. That's probably the origin. I don't know about that for sure, though. There's a lot of things I don't know. I'm just sharing what I do know. So, over thousands of years, they figured out how to repress women, how to control women. Sex is a very big, important part of life. So to repress sexuality in women is a big part of their agenda. War is an absolute necessity in their society. To deprive women of all their human rights, to deprive women of the freedom of speech, to deprive women of money, so they can't get employment. It was only the Ivy League schools were only open to women in the 70s. The 70s, the 1970s. That's like 50 years ago. They deprive women of education. They deprive women of getting jobs. The jobs for women are very limited. They deprive women of getting money for sex, like prostitution. They put all these taboos out against women. Taboos this way, taboos that way. They don't want women to take control over the youth. They don't want women. So they steal the children. They steal the children from the mothers. At about age 8 to 12, many societies steal boys. For what? For influence and to molest them, to have sex with them and to influence them. The Romans and the Greeks and the Spartans all did that. 8 to 12, the boys all had to go live with mentors who were mentoring. What they mean is buggering. Mentoring, ha. It has taken them thousands of years through force, through unjust laws. A woman, like the law where when a man dies, unless he leaves a will and designates someone different, automatically the oldest son gets all his property. Not the wife. Not the wife. Not the daughter. The oldest son. So they leave behind their financial prosperity and power with a male. Then they take children away from the mother, as I said, and this happens in many, many societies. It happens in Europe, with boys all sent to schools, boarding schools by the age of 8. That should take him away from the influence and power of his mother. In Papua New Guinea, they take all the boys age 6 to 10, 11, 12 and take them up in the woods for a few weeks and teach them to have sex with men and a lot of other stupid, insane stuff like putting sticks up their nose and making them nosebleeds and capturing foreign tribes, killing them and eating their genital organs. This is patriarchy. The whole idea is to destroy women, to make them powerless, to make them our slaves, to make them our breeding slaves, to make them our sex slaves. Take away young men's respect and love and admiration of women. Make it a taboo for young men to want older women. Older women are no good. This is a very important part of everything. They preach and teach that older women are over the hill. They don't have any purpose. They can't breed anymore. Therefore, they should retire and go out to pasture. The truth is, old women are the elders, the leaders. In many of the Indian tribes, the women, the elders, were and still are. But they're financing, when the government finances, they usually finance the so-called male tribal leader or chieftain. But it was, back in the day, it was all women leaders in most of the Indian societies. And they took that away from them. So the patriarchy has a spirit of Satan. Patriarchy is demonic. It is demonic. It rules by force. It rules by war. It rules by exploitation. It rules by intimidation. It steals from others. It deprives others of rights. It creates a poverty caste system. It makes people miserable. It hurts people. It is demonic. War is demonic. And patriarchy is demonic. To be continued. Next we'll talk about matriarchy.